Hi, I'm Christina Sullivan. Lackawanna County Highway Safety Program is committed to reducing crashes and fatalities on our roadways. April is National Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Distracted driving is one of the deadliest forms, riskiest forms of driving. It will include and can include eating while driving, texting while driving, and even talking on the phone. In 2019, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there were 3,142 lives claimed due to distracted driving. Today we're here with Eileen Miller, a safety advocate and partner who lost her son in 2010 to a distracted driver crash. Eileen Miller has been a safety advocate to change driving behaviors and supports the efforts of highway safety partners. Eileen is here to talk about her son, Paul Miller, and also House Bill that she's been working with state representatives on. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my story and my son, Paul. So my son, Paul, was 21 years old, and he was in criminal justice. All his life, he wanted to become a police officer, and he was at Lackawanna College, locally here. So on July 4th of 2010, my son walked in the door. He was working at Garrity's. My son had 2 jobs, also while going to school full time. So my son at 3:15 came in from working with Garrity's, gave me a kiss and a hug like he always did, and said, "Mom, you know, I'm going to go to a party, and it's down at ESU." So like always, gave me the biggest kiss and hug and said, "I love you," and walked out the door. And I never knew that that would be the last kiss or hug I would ever receive from my son. So my son went to a party. The party wound up being all the way down in Bethlehem. So my son did everything right. My son stayed over. He wound up being way further than he had thought. He was not in Stroudsburg. Had a party. My son did not drink or drive. What happened is he was tired and he didn't know his destination. So my son, I didn't find this out until after he had passed, but I was also at a party. So my son had called me at 6 o'clock. I missed that call because I was at a party. My son had called me at 10 o'clock. I had also missed that call to tell me that he was not coming home. He was going to stay over. So I then went to bed. He had then called friends and told them, "Make sure you tell my mom that I'm staying over," of course, showing his responsible at that age, what he was doing. So then in the morning he got up, he called Garrity's, which was one of his jobs that he was working. He was not scheduled to work. He was actually covering for a friend. And he called his boss at work, and Mark answered the phone and said, "Paul, we're not busy today. It's the 5th of July. Go home, take a shower. When you get here, you get here." So Garrity's wasn't expecting him. So when he didn't show up, you know, they weren't, you know, very nervous or anything. I, at my house, was having a party at my house. So people were calling me on the phone, you know, saying, "Are you having your party?" And ironically, at that time, my brother was in a terrible explosion. And my brother was in ICU and slowly coming out of a coma. That morning, I woke up and I had this very unsettling feeling. I was throwing up. So when people were calling me, asking me, was I having my party? I told them, "I'm not really sure. I have a feeling something is wrong with my brother." So I said, if something happens, I might have to leave, but sure, come to the party. Hence, I'm sitting on the front porch rocking in the rocking chair, waiting for friends to come to my party. And sadly, 2 state troopers pulled up back to back in front of my home. Right out of a movie scene, you know, your heart sinks. And I knew right then and there it was my son. So, you know, they asked if that was my address, 1407 Fig Street, where we lived at that time. Was my husband home? And I said yes. And I kept asking, was it my son? Was it my son? And they're like, you know, hold up, let's go in the house and talk. So we went in and they asked, you know, what would your Toyota Corolla be doing down on Route 33? And I was like, where is Route 33? And they're like, well, it's down by ESU. And I said, well, that's where he was going to a party. And so, you know, the conversation went, you know, does he have any markings on his body? And he did. He had a huge Celtic cross and the words trust and faith. And going back and forth, asking questions. And, After a while they said, we're very sorry, Mrs. Miller, but your son was killed in a terrible crash down on Route 33. To this day I can hear my screams, not my son, not my son. He was the perfect kid, he did everything right. And what was happened is we had found out that he was coming north on Route 33, and a tractor trailer driver was seen for miles en route going onto Route 33. He was lane switching, he was driving fast. We found out he was going 69 in a 45-mile work zone. And what had happened is he had come up against the guardrail and he had overcorrected, crossed 2 lanes of grassy highway, and hit my son head on, pushing him back into an embankment. And then behind him was a van with 12 people in it, and then they had hit the tractor trailer. And my son was, killed instantly. 3 people were taken lifeline by helicopters to Lehigh Valley, and the others were taken to the Pocono Medical, which is now the Lehigh Valley Hospital. And my world was just changed in a second. We had later found out that it was distracted driving. I told them I wanted to come to the hospital to go see my son, and they kept telling me I couldn't because it was a criminal case. And there was no way that I could view him, that he was that bad. And my husband was on the phone and talking to the state troopers and back and forth, and they kept telling me I could not view him. And basically I told them that no matter what, he was mine, and I was going to view him no matter what. So we did. We were told we couldn't go down till 3 o'clock. He died at 7:55 a.m. We couldn't go down till after 3 because of the reconstruction of the crash. And that was the longest, hardest walk of my life, was going down to the morgue. And he was in a body bag, and all I could see was his head. And I'll tell you, I could not tell that that was my child. I literally had to unzip the body bag and look at his clothes from the night before when I kissed and hugged him when he walked out the door. And even though that was the saddest and hardest day of my life, I whispered in his ear that once I found out what had happened to him and how it happened, that I would fight for change, and I would fight for safer laws, and speak to everybody that I could about how dangerous a cell phone is. And that's what I've been doing ever since 2010.
Yes, you have.
So with that, I've been, right after that, there was a campaign down in, with the Pocono Record, and it was the Drive to Stay Alive campaign. And that's where I met with Representative Rosemary Brown. And I kept begging her for a law, and at the time she kept saying it wasn't the right time, which it wasn't at the time. But I got to speak before the Transportation Committee, and we got the bill out of the House. And it's been 6 years now that we've been fighting for House Bill now 37.
Long time.
Long time. And it just came out of transportation again. It was voted bipartisan, and it was voted out anonymously. It's right through. And here we are sitting here again today. So what I am asking everybody to do now is that they reach out to their state representatives and tell them that we want it to be voted as it is, as a primary law, and that we need it to get out there. We need everybody to vote for it as it is. It's a very, very common sense law. And what this law is it's for everybody to be safe on the road. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody knows that, you see the cars swerving all over the road, what it is. This bill is that it has to be, you could still use your Bluetooth in your car, and everybody has Bluetooth today, but this has to be mounted. You have to actually have it mounted. You cannot touch that phone with any part of your body at all whatsoever. It has to be mounted. And also, I want to just make sure that I read what we have on here. So additionally, with this legislation, and we have the name of the bill is called the Enhanced Driver Responsibility Law. We changed the wording on it a little bit to make it sound that it is advanced driving responsibility, because it's for everybody on the road. So this is also making a vehicle while holding or supporting an electronic wireless device, regarding of the driver's age, and it's a primary offense that carries a $100 fine, and there's no points off your license. So the increase of the fine for texting while driving will then go from $50, which it is now, to $100. Also, it's to clarify that no person could be cited for both texting while driving while supporting or holding an electronic wireless device at the same time. So you can't be double fined. Also, it's to create a 5-year optional sentence for the enhancement for those guilty of homicide by vehicle, as well as a violation of a handheld probation during the time of incident for minors of current texting ban. And also, it's to ensure a person under the age of 18 prior to taking a driver's exam view additional material provided on PennDOT's site on the dangers of distracted driving. And it also requires the portion of the examination on traffic laws to contain at least one question on distracted driving. So this very clearly is for everybody to be safe on the road. This is not to make everybody out there to penalize them. It's to make everybody out on the road safer. We're not trying to penalize anybody. This is for, the people that are driving on the road, is to make everybody safe. Like in my son's case, it wasn't him that was on the phone. It was somebody else that took my son's life. It wasn't him himself. But we're not trying to hurt anybody. What we are trying to do is make everybody in Pennsylvania safe on our roads. And you can clearly see them when they're driving down the road. You know who they are. They're all on their phone. They're all driving down the road. They're all over the road. You know exactly. You can go on any given corner right now and sit there and see that 9 out of 10 people are literally holding their phone when they're on the road. So this was the best that we could do through the 6 years that we've been in this process with driving with this bill, to compromise and make it the safest bill that we can for everybody on the road. And believe me, we've been there 6 times and it keeps being changed in the wording, and it's the best compromise that we could do. And even me, I still say, because I lost my child, that this year is always off when I'm behind the wheel. I will not ever be turning my phone on, because the best cell phone to me is the off button on here. There's no text, selfie, Snapchat, anything. And even right now, everybody out there, because of COVID, has been Zooming. So right now, we just found out that through ZenDrive, who does all of these experiments and all of that with phones, that because of everybody Zooming, that distracted driving has gone up 38% because everybody is now Zooming behind their wheel.
Behind the wheel.
So it's another extra added. So we need this bill more than we've ever had it before, because everybody is Zooming now behind the wheel.
We're hoping to raise awareness with regard to distracted driving. And what is the most important message, not to get away from the bill, what is the most important message that you have to every driver out there on our roads?
The one thing is we want to keep everybody safe. You don't want to be like me and have 2 state troopers knocking on your door telling you that your loved one is there. To me, and most people do know, but a year after my son was killed, within a year, my husband started tripping and falling and walking into walls, and he was diagnosed with ALS. So I have a very sick husband. He's in a wheelchair. He's losing his voice. He's losing his legs. And with that even being said, every time I get into my vehicle, I turn it off. There are other forms of distraction, and this is another thing people keep bringing up to me. Well, that's not the main distraction. Yes, there's reaching for a drink, putting on your makeup, there's eating in the car. But the number one killer is this right here, because you're taking your eyes off the road for a longer amount of time. You're looking at your emails, you're recording, you're doing all that. To me, in all honesty, the best thing is to just turn it off. There are apps that you can use to ping it, to tang it off. But every time you're on your phone and you hear a ping, you get a little squirt of dopamine off your brain, and you hear it and you want to keep reaching it. You want to keep going for it. Who is that calling me? What was that text? So to me, if you turn that off, you don't hear any of it. You put it away when you get to your destination, or pull off the road. And that is another thing with our bill, is that if you're going to use your phone, you have to pull off the roadway. It cannot be touched to you, or you can pull off the roadway and use your phone. There's no text, no cell phone, no phone call worth the life. And unfortunately, I learned that the hard way, that there's nothing that is worth that. And like I said, even with my husband now, I turn the phone off. When I get to my destination, I turn it on, I'll listen to it, and then I turn it back off and I go on my destination. There is nothing that's worth a phone call.
Put the phone down.
Put the phone down, turn it off, power it back up later. And they do have apps that are out there. A lot of companies have reached out to me and asked me to endorse their apps. I will not endorse any app. There are a lot that are out there, but to me, once you lose a child, there's nothing. The off button is the best.
Turn it off,
right.
put it down.
But to us, with this bill, I am supporting it because it is going to save lives. It will save lives. To me, the best thing would be for there to be none. But technology today, it is going to help. So,
Eileen, you've worked tirelessly, and you've been our safety advocate. You've supported all of our programs and efforts to bring down crashes and fatalities in not only our area, but in every portion of the state, in addition to attending conferences and just being there for people who have lost loved ones. So on behalf of all of the residents of the county, I thank you for that.
And I thank you guys for always calling me to support, whether it's, pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, it's everybody being safe out on our roads. And I want to thank you guys because your programs are extremely important for everybody. And everybody you need to just get in your car and to just drive and to get from one destination to the other. And it's eyes on the road, hands on the wheel, mind at task, and to just drive. And the only thing, like I said, is I would really like for everybody to reach out to their state representatives and tell them that they want to support HB 37, the enhanced driver responsibility, and tell them they want it to pass as a primary offense. And I'd like for everybody to please be safe when you're out on the roads.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.